And we are back with another United States webinar, ready to talk about the iGaming scene in the America. We're coming back with another webinar, but slightly different this time, with already successfully conducted two webinars. However, the questions still remain. After the last webinar we've done in early November, we've received so many questions for our experts. So we came up with an idea, why don't we host a live questions and answers session so that we provide you with the information that you are looking for rather than trying to guess what you need to know and what things that are not clear for you. Today, I will be joined by three guests, Elena Kvakova, live from New York in the United States, and Rickard Vikström and Jesper Kärrbrink from Sweden, Stockholm. Before I introduce today's concept and the structure of the webinar and our respectful experts, I will give another few more minutes for people to join in so that nobody misses out on any valuable information. So guys, I can see that chat is exploding. Hello guys, why don't you introduce yourselves? Where are you from? Where is everybody located? Which parts of the world and countries where? Oh, UK. Hello, UK. Asia. Whereabouts in Asia, guys? New Zealand. Wow. London, Estonia, Delaware, USA, another USA, Gibraltar, Sydney, Australia. Wow, we have a truly international crowd today, guys. Malta, very nice. Hello from Malta. I'm in Malta myself. Netherlands, Stockholm, Sweden, Miami, and Colombia. Wow, guys. Such a lively crowd today and a truly international crowd. Nice seeing everybody. Another one from the United States. Guys, would be nice to hear what areas of iGaming do you represent? Are you affiliates? Are you B2B suppliers? Are you operators? Don't be shy. Let us know so that we can provide the most relevant information for you. No, nobody. Operator, affiliates, data supplier, operator. One more operator, affiliates. I can see everyone is aggressively going into the United States market. Everybody's hungry for the information. That's fantastic. Another supplier, media buyer, and affiliate. Another operator. Wow, guys. Wow. You rock today. I'm really happy to see such a lively crowd today. I think we're going to have a really nice webinar. So quite a few people have joined in. So I think in order not to waste any valuable time, I'm going to jump in and introduce the webinar structure and our experts, of course. So today's live Q&A section will be split into two parts. The first part will be dedicated to the pre-sent questions. Some people left some questions when registering for the webinar, so I will read out some of them. And then in the second part, we're going to jump to the live questions. So please, for those who are joining us today and have their live questions ready, please do not submit them until I announce the live Q&A part so that I don't miss out on your questions. Another thing is, unfortunately, the time is limited. We won't be able to answer everybody's questions. So, but we appreciate you coming to the webinar, and we wouldn't like anybody to miss out on any information. That is why we are offering a live personalized call with our experts. We will leave the links at the end of the webinar. So if your question hasn't been answered, or it's a very unique situation that you need to get into the nitty-gritty of what's happening with your company, you can book a call and have a live call of one of our experts, depending on the area of expertise you need, whether it's a general information about the market, whether you need to know about the rules, legislation, and compliance, or whether you have any technical questions. So the links will be there for you, so stay tuned until the very end. And as a small thank you for joining us today and being such an amazing crowd, we've prepared a little gift for you. At the end of the webinar, we will leave you a link to a brochure. The link will be live for 48 hours only, so please don't leave it until the very end to download. We've created an informational brochure on the United States market, especially for you, everything you need to know about the market itself, about how to get set up, about the licensing rules state by state. And we also split it by the area of your expertise, whether you're an operator, whether you're a supplier, and whether you're an affiliate. So once you get our brochure, you'll have no questions left. And enough for me talking. Let's jump to our experts. So today I'm joined by Elena Kvakova. Our amazing Elena is a compliance expert. She's been working most of her career in the United States market, and she's live from New York. She spent the last nearly 2 years examining the market, getting to the nitty-gritty of the compliance, all the rules and regulations, state by state. She left no rock unturned. Hi, Elena. How are you doing today? Good morning.
Good morning. Doing very well. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
How is the situation in New York?
It's good. We're having a warm front. Today it's going to get up to 16 degrees Celsius, but then it's going to go down again. So it's up and down, but it's all good.
Not too bad, not too bad. No snowstorms at all.
No
That's
snowstorms.
good. And on the second camera, we have Rickard and Jesper joining us. So Rickard will answer your technical questions. Rickard is one of the founders and the CCO of Internet Vikings. So Rickard has an extensive technical background, so he is a perfect person to answer all your IT and tech-related questions. And also, he has successfully led his company throughout last year, expanding in the United States. So he is the person to get you all the information firsthand, because he knows what exactly the experience was like. And the man next to Rickard needs no introduction. Everybody knows Jesper. He's one of the founders and the fathers of the iGaming industry. Everybody knows him. He's been within the industry for nearly 20 years. He has witnessed and took active participation in the development of the industry. He saw many markets to unroll, so he will perfectly explain you how things work in the United States market as well. Hi, guys.
Hi there. Thanks for these kind words. And Elena, I just noted that the producer needed a third person to get these webinars to really rock. So welcome, Rickard. This is actually me and Elena's channel, but okay, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, Rickard is crashing the party today.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, have you all here and being here, of course.
Let's jump to the questions then, guys. Shall we? The first pre-sent question was from Jonas Eklund from Sweden. It's more of a generic question. Actually, I've decided to split it into parts because it's perfect to open and close our webinar. So Jonas, are you here with us? Jonas is not here. Probably he'll be joining in later on. So what should a European operator prepare for when entering the United States market? What to expect from the United States iGaming market?
There are compliance aspects in that question. There is also technical aspects in that question. So, but let me start with the overall view on these two markets. If you compare US to Europe, they are similar to some extent, but they're also very different to other extents. And I would say that if you look at the European market, we are in a situation now where it's mature, almost to some extent saturated, and while the US market is an emerging market, basically a virgin market when it comes to iGaming. So that's a difference. We will see much stronger growth rates in US than in Europe right now. So that's definitely a reason to enter the US market. Similarities, strangely enough, even if US is one country, there are going to be multiple licenses. Every state has their own license. So that's a similarity to Europe, where every country has its own license. On the other hand, the US only have one language, and that's a huge advantage, of course. I mean, me coming from Mr. Green, we had 32 nationalities working there, and to cover a lot of languages and culture aspects, etc., etc. That's nice. It's a fantastic workplace to be in, but it also comes, if you look at this from a pure financial perspective, comes with quite a high cost that you don't really have in the US. And then I would say that there's a competence base that differs. If you look at Europe, we are basically grown up as managers and experts with iGaming, while the US competence is basically coming from land-based, and combining these two is, I think, would be the perfect thing. So when you enter the US from a European perspective, I think you have to have a huge respect for that this is a land-based market primarily today, and you need that competence to transfer the right players with the players in the right way, and vice versa. If you don't use the amazing expertise we have in Europe when it comes to iGaming as a US operator, I think you will miss out on some important parts. So there are similarities and there are differences, but all in all, it's the same product. It's the same. Yeah, sorry, there's one more thing. While we are very focused on sports bookings in Europe on football, you have to be able to know the local sport in US, of course, where football is something totally different. I think you call it soccer, Elena, or vice versa. And so that's one thing. But also when you come to the iGaming part, why we in Europe have like 85% of the revenue from slots, there are some states where table games are almost 50% of the revenue in US. So there's a bit of a difference also in what kind of product type you need to have an expertise in. But overall, it's quite similar. So Elena, what do you say about the licensing part and things?
Absolutely. As an operations person, I would say that every European company, first and foremost, before entering the United States, should get its and a lot.
Elena, I think we lost you there. So meanwhile, you get the Wi-Fi connection back. Perhaps Rickard could talk a bit more about the technical aspects.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, but if you look at the technical aspect of the US, like Jesper is saying, it's 50 states. It's all handled, especially in terms of sports betting, due to the Wire Act. You need to have local operation in every state, and that's a challenge, because if you look in Europe on a MGA or UKGC or SGA license, we in Europe, then you need one. You can run everything on one server. You don't need to have servers in every European country. In the US, it's completely different. There is some states like Connecticut where you can do iGaming from outside of the state, but due to the Wire Act, sportsbook is not allowed, and it's a hurdle to get into the market. And that is, if you're already in the market and you have the bandwidth to go into the market and really put efforts into it, it protects your investment. But again, on the other side, it is a lot of work to do it. It's a lot of execution. It takes time to get all the documentations. I think that what Elena was going to say, like all the documentations, your company records, everything in order. And we had one partner that we were talking to that had some tax return they haven't filed like 10 years ago. And that's why it took a while for them to get a license. But it's these kind of things. And that is the good and bad thing.
Exactly. But that's also a business opportunity for us, because what we do here, we make sure that we provide solutions in all these states.
Yep.
But with one contract and with one contact line, so to speak. But from an operator's perspective, this is something that you have to bear in mind. You need to host locally. You need to have local relationships in all states, even though you might see it as one country. So there, these are. Yeah.
And go to market deal, like the market access deals.
Exactly.
That's also the next thing. Like to be an operator, how do you and go that also harder to get into the market, and some states only have an X number of licenses.
On the other hand, each market will be so big, so you can basically treat them as a country. You could say that, like, if you wanted to do, if you talk Europe, I'm gonna do Sweden, Denmark, and Germany. That could be like I do New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and a third state.
Yeah.
So it's also, you shouldn't be afraid that each state has its own legislation and its own requirement for hosting and so forth. There are solutions for this, and you can treat them as one country. And I think it's very few players that actually take the whole US as in one step. That will be the US-based, land-based with the strong brand names, or a company like FanDuel and things like that. But coming from Europe, you might take a state-by-state approach.
Yep.
Elena, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? Okay.
Oh, you're breaking up again.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll allow Yelena a few minutes to reconnect once again and to reestablish her connection, and we'll put aside the compliance and regulations questions for the second, and we proceed with the general questions or the techie questions. Etienne, I've received your question. Just give a few seconds for Yelena to reconnect, and she'll explain your question regarding the Wire Act.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, please.
yes. No, Rickard, what did you want
No,
to say?
I can see the question here.
Okay.
Yeah, that someone
Like
wrote it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's yes. The Wire Act only applies to the sportsbook and not to casino. I totally agree on that. But some states have that the legislation on the state level that you need to have even iGaming in, like the iGaming content and RGS within the boundaries of the state. Like I said, Connecticut, you don't need to have that, but other states you need to do it. Just to clarify regarding the Wire Act, because it's very important, because sportsbook and iGaming is treated completely differently.
Okay, perfect. I can see more questions coming in, so I think we're gonna go with the natural flow of the webinar. So I leave the other pre-recorded questions for a second, so I can see a question from, please, my apologies if I mispronounce somebody's name. I try to read them out as precisely as possible. So Oscar Ekehol, he has a question for affiliates from a compliance perspective. Is having dedicated sites, domains on a state per state level the only way to go, or would geo-based tweaking of an international site be an option?
I would say both. You can do both things. Either you do like a lot of affiliates in the US do like Rickard's iGaming affiliate NJ, Rickard iGaming affiliate PA, Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So there's benefits of that. For that, of course, then you can really localize that kind of content and that kind of website towards just that state, like you would do Swedish content, Finnish, Danish, German, and so on in Europe. But
you don't need to do this from a regular.
You don't need to do it. But if you look into having one site, and then do subdirectories like /NJ/PA/MI and so on, then you would get better link power. And if you're doing SEO, if you're an SEO affiliate, that's probably how you get a stronger domain name, a stronger website.
Exactly. But the most important part is, as an affiliate, you don't have to have them locally registered. You can have a umbrella brand or site, so to speak. Yeah.
Absolutely, but like Jesper was saying, there's you need to treat the US as different markets. There is some completely different what the operators are allowed to provide to their customers, and therefore you need to localize that kind of content.
Absolutely, and as I said before, there's even differences in how much certain games are played. We have some markets or states where table games are extremely popular, and there you might tweak it more towards table games, and in other states more towards iGaming or slots. Sorry. So what Rickard is saying here, yes, you should, from a commercial perspective, as an affiliate, you should definitely go as local as possible.
Yeah. And like Jesper was saying, it's the same language. It's English. You don't need different content writers. You can only do one content writer, like the one that creates the content in multiple states.
And Elena, from a license perspective, being an affiliate, would that require a license in each state, or what kind of license does it require to be an affiliate, if any?
Apologies about that. Yes, being an affiliate does require not the full license, but the vendor registration in most states. I have not encountered any state that does not require vendor registration. However, some states, depending on the volume that you're operating in and depending if it's a rev share or a flat fee, would require a higher tier supplier license. So if you have an interest in the outcome of the ads, like a monetary interest, that you would have to go for a supplier license, which of course imply heavier regulatory burden and more disclosures.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that differs, of course, from Europe, where you basically can set up your affiliate business and just run with it. So it's a bit more complicated to be an affiliate in the US, and a bit more risky if you don't follow the compliance rules and regulations. But still, it's an amazing market, and I think there's really room for affiliates in this market.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Oscar, I hope it answers your question. Before we jump to your question, Dan, then since we're on the topic of licensing in the US, I received quite a few questions regarding the licensing. Magnus Larsson, Elion Fernsby, Charles Crowther, I hope you're with us. So the questions were as following. What are the license requirements for iGaming services providers in New Jersey and Michigan? What is the application process? I am a game software provider. What documents do I need to submit, get a license in New Jersey? How long on average does it take to get a license in the US? How soon can I go live as an affiliate after obtaining the license? So I thought, Elena, I'll go ahead and combine it all in one question. So maybe you just could talk us through the licensing process in the United States. What do you need, how it goes, and maybe put a bit of an accent on the New Jersey, since people are mostly asking about New Jersey.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julia. First and foremost, platform providers are going to be classified as supplier in Michigan and as a gaming service provider in New Jersey. They do require to disclose every holding entity and every ownership for 5% and more. So keep that in mind when you're looking to enter either of those markets if you want to figure out the shares of your companies. The forms that are going to be needed are business disclosure forms, personal disclosure forms. The holding companies would have to fill out all the forms. You would have to list tax returns for the last 3 years in all jurisdictions, whether it's European or US or otherwise. You would have to list all of the officers, all of the key employees with their addresses, their biometric information like fingerprints would have to be provided to the United States government for the background check. In Michigan,
that also applies for UBOs, or that would also apply for owners, for UBOs as well, not only key staff.
Correct. Which is a lot. The news is
sorry, your Wi-Fi is scrambling again. If I might, I propose that. I mean, Elena had a fantastic answer on that one, and it's too good to miss out. So I propose that we take this one after, directly with Elena, these questions, and she will answer them in a session, mano to mano, so to speak, or via email or any other channel, if that's okay. Because it's important. It's a really good question, and it's a really, really good answer, and Elena knows it down to every it's a bit of detail. But I think let's do that.
Okay, we'll leave it towards the end when Elena has a better connection. Unfortunately, this is something beyond our control, so I hope you are okay with that, guys. We're then going to jump to Dan Pernabasi. Question is, hello, we are a gaming platform preparing to enter the US. We have been working with the same hosting provider for years now. Would you say it is best we switch to a local provider in the USA, or we can continue to use our non-US partner?
You need to switch to a local provider in the US if you're a gaming platform, and if you are, and again, it's per state. You don't
or if that European partner has a license in US. You can
of course, like Internet Vikings.
Like Internet Vikings,
yeah.
Exactly. So no, but
a sneaky advert.
Sorry. No. But that's a point that you have to be local. You have to place your service locally. You have to use a US-based, a US licensed supplier.
Yeah, and not only that, in certain states you also need to have the servers in New Jersey, Atlantic City,
Physically.
Physically, just to host it. And that, of course, comes with extra cost for everyone within the iGaming industry. But that's something that we work with, and that's something that we solve. And it's us for us as a community to work with those kind of legislation, because It's pros and cons with it. But as I said, if you're in the market and when you've gone through all this, it's really shields your investment towards competitors.
And it's not that unlike, I mean, it's basically the same as in Malta, like 10 years ago, when you had to have your service in Malta, and they were even taped. You couldn't open them, so they were sealed.
Yeah, small stickers.
Yeah, exactly, at that point. And we see the same here. So this is nothing new in itself, but it has to be local.
And would you happen to have the information? Fabio Ofiero is asking, when it comes to the banking services, is it the same?
Yes.
Yes.
But Elena, would
yeah, I think you can use a bank that's out. But
you need to have the bank account in the US.
But in the US, yes.
Exactly.
In the US,
it could be an international bank, but it has to have a US branch, as far as I understand. Elena can answer that question better, but we're pretty sure that it has to be a US-based bank.
Yes, it is. And there is a few banks. I've come across a few during the last year that customers are using for as an operator and also like a gaming service provider.
Okay, perfect. Before we proceed, Rickard, Jesper, I wanted to ask, the questions are quite lengthy. Would you prefer me to publish them large on the screen so you can see them?
Yes, please do that.
Yes.
Then I don't need to put on my glasses either. That's good.
Okay, so Fabio, Elena will come back to you once she joins in regarding the banking services. And Ayman, I can see. Elena?
Hi, I'm with you. I'm sorry. I'm blaming the US broadband services, but I'll stay off the camera to free up some bandwidth. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I'm ready to take all the questions.
You're ready to tell all the questions. So maybe you'd like to continue what you were saying regarding the licensing, and then a few questions piled up for you.
Yes, absolutely. What I was about to say about licensing is that even though the whole licensing process can be quite cumbersome, it can take up to 6 to 12 months to get the full license. But in literally every state, there is a process for advanced license, meaning that if all of the paperwork has been submitted, if the fees have been paid, if the due diligence has been conducted from both sides, you can apply to the regulator to receive advanced authorization to conduct business. So that's the great news for the platform providers, is that you can go live as soon as 3 months, even up to 3 months, if you have everything submitted to the regulator.
Okay, fantastic, Elena. Thank you. And while you were absent, Fabio Ofiera had a question for you here. When it comes to the banking services, do you need to stick to the local provider, or is it okay to go with a non-US banking services provider?
It's better to have, as gentlemen have mentioned, it's better to have a local provider, again, for the ease of accounting and for the ease of tax reporting. So yeah, you can go with an international bank, but it's preferable that they have a branch in the US.
Okay, perfect. And the next question is from Ayman Bulmedes. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I'm going to publish it because it's quite a long question. Okay. Perhaps more for Elena, if she can hear us. She can hear us. U.S. markets are under heavy advertising fire, some of which misleading, as New York State Attorney General pointed out. Do you foresee the stringent pre-approval requirements expanding beyond Delaware and New Jersey, or it becomes a standard in the future?
Absolutely. When we were in New Jersey last year, we were lucky to participate in a few panels regarding the advertisement and affiliate marketings. A few regulators were given floor, and basically the message that they're sending right now, even though there are not as heavily regulated requirements for the advertisers right now, they are relying on regulators to self-regulate, if you will, and to advertise it in a proper way. They were, however, indicating that, again, should the market become more popular, or if there are so many more violations, then now that there will be more restrictions and more laws on advertisement. As of right now, there are no laws for advertisement. Like, again, there is a good practices that pretty much everybody is following, but again, it can be restricted in future.
Thank you.
I would say, yeah, to take some lessons from Europe. We and as operators, and I was one of them, or being responsible for one of them. I think we overdid it to some extent when it comes to our marketing, both in message but also in volume, and that created an antitrust towards the gaming companies. And I think that this is something that US operators should learn from. At some point, if you overdo it, it will come back and sorry for the expression, but it bites you in your ass. And we've seen that in Europe, and we have ourselves to blame. And I think it would be clever if the US operators are a bit more prudent when it comes to this, because you will still find the players. I don't think we need to do that massive amount of marketing as we did, and that kind of aggressive and very single-minded marketing that we did in Europe. And we can see that now. There are some really smart advertising out there, like Bet365. I love their advertising. It's so much smarter, it's so much cooler, and they break it up with responsible gaming and stuff like that. And that builds a better brand as well. So I really hope that the US operators will take this into mind.
Thank you very much, Jesper. While we are on advertising marketing topic, there is a Rishi Agarwal question, and after the techie question, so there's a huge pile up for Rickard. So let's just wrap up the topic. And Rishi is asking, what are your views on doing affiliate marketing in iGaming vertical in US, Europe, and such countries?
And that it's still a lot of traffic out there. And like if you look at markets that Netherlands, Germany, and Europe as an example, especially on the search side, both PPC and SEO, there is so much traffic. It's growing, new keywords, but also new players coming in. Like every third year, there's someone new that's coming in, building a huge iGaming affiliate in the US, in Europe, and also the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. India, Asia, definitely. But right now, I would say if I were an affiliate, I'm not. I would definitely put my focus on the US as well as Europe, because as Rickard is saying, there's still so many players out there to catch or capture.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rishi. I hope that answers your question. And the next question, I guess it's going to be for Rickard by Finn Allen. What types of hosting are currently available in the US?
I would say, first of all, co-location, of course, but then also dedicated servers. And then in some states, you can do single or multi-tenant cloud, depending on the regulatory environment. And what we see some states that have allowed multi-tenant cloud, and we have some states that are thinking about it, discussing it internally, and some states that just say, we will wait with this question for a few couple of years. So it's, but what I think, and in the end of the day, that more and more regulators will allow multi-tenant cloud, even it's in-state multi-tenant cloud. So you need to have a certain hosting provider to have it in-state still, but you can do a cloud platform on top of the physical servers that's in-state.
Okay, fantastic. I believe you have partially answered the question by Ariel Mihrazi. What are the most important regulatory requirements regarding the infrastructure? I guess he means IT infrastructure in the United States. And are they all similar across the US states or differ state by state? Do you have anything to add?
What kind of
regulatory requirements regarding building?
Yeah, it's different. Like in some states, like New Jersey, you need to have the backup server in a secondary data center. In some states, you can have it on a separate server. So it's all very much depending on what state it is, and I would say how big the market is, because it all comes down to that. The bigger markets like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, it's the regulator is a little bit more careful, but also more professional in terms of that they provide. Like, because in the end of the day, this is for protecting the player, especially if a data center burns down. Something happens with the data center. So someone needs to be able to get the records of that that operator, that game server.
And exactly, but I think the key word here is that it differs from state to state. So you need to be local, and you need to find a supplier that can manage each state, and preferably a supplier that can do that from one point of view, so to speak, and because that will save you a lot of time and cost. But it is local.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And Craig Rodriguez is asking, how long does it take to build hosting infrastructure in the US?
Depends what you want to do. No, but depending from a few weeks to a few months, depending on what we're looking for. If we need to set up like a full rack, if it's a big tier 1 operator, or if it's something smaller just to start with.
But basically, the longest thing is to get the license.
Yes,
that's what takes the longest time.
The license, and I also always tell the person I'm talking to, because when I'm talking to people, I talk with CTOs, VP of tech, like, yes, we can fix the technical thing. That's not a problem. The problem is your legal team that take to review the contract. That's usually taking the longest when we have discussion with customers. The technical part is not a problem. We, of course, everyone has seen the semiconductor shortage. That's a bit of a risk, especially if someone needs like super specific hardware. But as long as like standard cloud setup with like SAN and so on, it's doable.
Yeah, and the more operators you have in a co-location on a stack, the faster it will go. Of course, the first one will take a bit more time, and especially if you take the licensing requirements into consideration. But as soon as the licensing is done and the hosting partner are already licensed in this state, it's more of a technical setup, and it takes the time it takes, and that's pretty short. And as Rickard is saying, it's often the legal part that takes the longest.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We're going to jump off a bit of the techie topic. We come back to it once again. So Matthew Kellerman has a question here. As a game studio, what is general process to enter the New Jersey and Michigan market? Elena, probably it's going to be the question for you.
Of course. Well, first and foremost, you would have to find a customer as a step one. You have to be sponsored. You cannot just apply for the license without a customer. And preferably that customer is either already licensed in either of those states or is looking to apply for a license at the same time, because if they don't, it will delay your license as well. Once there is a contract and there is a relationship established, ideally you would look at the forms and fill them out, submit the fee, and send the packet, have the package reviewed by your legal counsel that preferably specializes in the gaming law, and forward the package to the legal counsel. Forward the package to the regulator. And after that, address any of the questions, any of the concerns. There can be some back and forth about missing the documents, or if they want to see more information, and so on and so forth. But while you're waiting for the license and for the first feedback, again, as we've said, you can apply for the advanced authorization, which will give you ability to start already setting up the live environment and work on the technical parts.
And Elena, that's a perfect answer and description of the process. I just want to add that from a game supplier perspective, being a European supplier, this is a bit of an odd situation, because you need to have the customer before you get the license. And basically, one of your sales pitches as a provider is that you have the license. In Europe, you first get the license, and then you go to the operator and say, we have these games, we are licensed, and they are certified. In the US, you have to find the customer before you have the license, and that's a bit awkward for us as Europeans. So this is something you have to bear in mind. Spend some time on getting that first customer is super important, and that means that you really need to have some good games, because why should that operator sponsor you anyway, or it might be that you need to do a good deal with this operator. So it's a bit different from how you operate in the rest of the world.
I'd also love to add a little bit to this conversation, since I've seen relevant questions in the chat, is that, again, first and foremost, is to secure a customer. And we have a lot of questions about what states are the best to enter as an affiliate provider or as a supplier. Again, the fact that you need a customer will also apply to the affiliate. It will apply to the gaming provider, it will apply to the hosting provider, and to the affiliate. And when it comes to the best states to start, again, there are many great states like New Jersey, Michigan, Pennsylvania, that have been in the market for a while and that already have an established large iGaming operation. But again, it all comes down to the client. So we would also, answering your question, what states are the best to enter, is the state where you manage to secure the customer. You can start small. You can start with Indiana. You can start with Louisiana. They are new. The restrictions aren't as tight as in New Jersey and Pennsylvania yet. So if you can start there, start there. If you can start in New Jersey, start in New Jersey. But it's really important to start because US is all about credential. And if you can show that you are an operator or you are an affiliate in one of the states already, it shows a seal of approval for upcoming states that you're looking to expand.
Elena, that's a business idea. You can set up a very, very, very small operator, get the license in each state, and then you sell partnership or sponsorship.
It'll be a very expensive business idea.
That would be very expensive. Yes.
Oscar, I hope that answers your question. Yelena jumped to it and swiftly answered it, very nicely integrated. And Timur Antala is asking, in which states the affiliate licenses are domain specific? And
where's the company specific?
And domain specific and where company specific, or could you just explain how it works?
Sure, I'm happy to jump into this one. So basically, as we mentioned, again, every state is licensing affiliates for their own particular state. So if you wanted to operate in Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, you would have to file 3 applications with the respective regulators. Again, we would have to take a closer look at the regulation, but from what we have seen is that a lot of affiliates are choosing to provide affiliate services on either a subdomain, like New Jersey .your domain, and this is what gets submitted to the regulator in the end because it's easier to filter out the traffic. So I would say that while applying with the same company gives you benefit to show to the regulator that you already have an established operation in any other state, your operation would have to be state specific.
Perfect. Does that answer your question? I hope it does. We have a question. I think the first question, the only lady joining us today, because predominantly was a gentleman's crowd today. And a very techy question, how do secondary backups work in the different states? Rickard, probably a question for you.
It's me and Yela. Secondary backups you can usually have outside of the state. You need to have the primary backup in the state. I know for a fact in Michigan, you can have it outside of the state. I'm pretty sure you can have that in New Jersey as well. Pennsylvania, I'm not 100% sure. But usually you need the primary backup. You have the primary data center, you have the primary backup in state, and then the secondary backup you can usually do outside of the state.
Also outside US, if you want to work.
Yes.
So
because
that's basically anywhere.
Yeah.
It could be cloud.
Because yes, exactly. Because it's basically backup of a backup, and we have some customers that are pulling that kind of data out to Europe because they have the business intelligence platform in Europe to handle that data.
Yeah, so they're using the backup of the backup for the BI. Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
I would also add to Rickard's answer is that there is a distinction between backup and secondary servers. So first, there is a primary server where the gaming operation occurs. Then there is a secondary server that should be ready to take over the primary data center in case of outage, like power supply goes down or something happens to it. And then there is the third type of servers that are also called backup servers. And these are the servers where you store the backup of a data, but it does not support any live operation and it is not tailored to do so. So usually, as Rickard has mentioned, the first two will have to be in the state, while the third one would have to be anywhere in the US. I know that a lot of providers choose to have it in the US, again, for the ease of operation. And that's pretty much the case for all of the jurisdictions. Like, for instance, Connecticut says that backup can be on the secondary server can be on East Coast. So it does not have to be in Connecticut, but it has to be on the East Coast, which is interesting. So again, tying back to the thing that we have been saying all this webinar is that it very heavily varies state by state, but overall, the first two types of servers have to be in state.
That's almost discriminating. The West Coast to the East Coast.
Yes.
Yelena, since you've mentioned the question about data, the topic of data, I have a question here. What are the specifics in regards to data protection and data transfer in the US?
Sure. So basically, it's all simple. All the data has to be in the state. Again, it can be outside of the state if it's a backup, but all of the players' data, gaming data, wallet, bids, and so on and so forth, it has to be in the state, and it has to be served from a secure data center approved by a gaming commission. There can never be any transfer from between the states, because it will be a direct violation of the Wire Act, as we know, for sports betting. Yeah, and that's that. And then in case if we can address the breaches and the breaches a little bit, again, should there happen a breach, literally all of the states have data breach policies in place. So it's not necessarily iGaming industry imposed. It's more of a state rule for digital data being breached. And again, should that happen, there are processes in place which you should obviously know before you start the operation. But that's that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I have here a question from Tariq Balous. Tariq is asking, what are the exact steps, cost requirements, and time for getting an affiliate license? Is there a service that Internet Vikings offers to take care for that need of ours? I'll guess to explain the exact process, that would be a very lengthy answer. The exact process is fully described in the brochure that we're gonna share at the end of the webinar, and also you're welcome to book a consultation, but I will allow the guys to answer the question whether Internet Vikings can offer that service for them.
I can use a short one regarding that. Some operators help their affiliates to set up and be the sponsor for that affiliate to set up in the state, but then you need to have a website targeting that state and so on. But then it's not that costly to file for it, and again, some operators help with that. And no, the Vikings do not offer that kind of service.
Okay, unfortunately, Eric, but do stay until the end, and we going to share the brochure, so you'll be able to find all the step-by-step information and the links to book a consultation with Elena Kvakova or Rickard in that sense. So I have here a question. How expensive is it to set up operations in the US? I believe Rickard has just answered that question.
It's from a couple of $1,000s to a couple of million or billions, depending which level you want to start on.
Exactly, and yeah, depending on your level of marketing as well. Yeah.
Perfect. And Daniel Blumster has a question here. It's publishing. And the affiliate license holders work with sub-affiliates that don't have license of their own.
That's an Elena question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
a tricky one. Elena, do you know this, or should we come back? It's an interesting question, so we should definitely find out.
Yeah, I have not thought about this before, but I'm happy to, whoever asked this question, yeah, I'm happy to go back and research.
Looking at this from a gaming provider perspective, I would say in that case it would be a no. So you can't just you can sub-license, but then you are totally responsible for that games, and it has to be on your service, and you have to take the income and so forth. It's a very complicated process, but you just can't say that these guys are okay, so we will distribute their games. It's not how it works, and yeah. But let's see how it is with affiliates. It might be different. I don't know, but Elena will come back and answer this question directly to the person who posted it.
Perfect. Guys, we're slightly running out of time, I believe. Shall I ask a few last questions and we're gonna make it a wrap, or are you happy to continue?
Sorry, I have a call starting in 7 minutes, so I need to wrap. But on the other hand, I'm just sitting here and smiling. So Rick and Elena could continue.
So
we can wrap it up at half past.
we cover a few more questions, and in case Jesper needs to jump off, we'll let him head. There was an interesting question regarding whether there's enough suppliers. Where did I lost? Lost the question. It was an interesting one. Since the US is a new market, are there enough of local IT suppliers that are iGaming specific in the US at this moment?
I would say no.
Me too.
Yeah.
If you look at the game provider side, it's a no, and I would say the
Yeah,
same,
no,
I mean,
for hosting, yeah.
for hosting,
yeah. It's basically Internet Vikings and our other good friends.
Yeah, so basically 2 or perhaps 3, but it's no, there are room. If you want to compete with Internet Vikings, just start doing it. And as we said before, it's a big market.
Perfect. Then I'll probably ask my last questions, guys. Don't worry about the unanswered questions. I will announce at the end what we're going to do regarding those. So my last question, it was the part actually of the first generic question by Jonas Eklund. Is it too late to enter the US market? What is the situation there now? Because 1 year ago, it was a question whether should I or should I not enter the market. Then it was a question how do I enter the market? And now, should I?
Let me start with that one. I would rephrase it. Is it too late to enter the European market? If you don't have a super duper offer and you stand out like a beacon, I would say you should really be a bit careful entering some of the or most of the European markets. There's still room if you do it the right way. Absolutely, it's doable. US, no. There's still plenty of room for operators, but you have to remember it's a huge market that comes with some hefty expenses in marketing. I mean, just look at the New York situation with the sports book, where I mean, it's going to be bloodbath there at some point with the high taxes and the marketing spend needed. And you're also up towards some pretty decent brand names, basically household brand names like Caesars and MGM and so forth. But there's still room, absolutely, especially if you're a bit clever and you do it state by state and you bring something there. And coming from Europe, you have an expertise that would give you a bit of a head start, I would say. So no, it's absolutely not too late.
Fantastic. Any input from you, Yelena or Rickard?
Yeah, I'm happy to say that even though, again, there are quite a few big name players in the US market, especially if you are a sports book, but there's definitely room for everybody, and everybody can have their share piece of the pie. That's great for the market. It promotes the competition. The offers to the end players are getting better. The technology is getting better. As Rickard mentioned, that we definitely have a lack of technical partners in the US. A lot of data centers that we approach, they still don't know how to work with iGaming industry in some states. So, we're guiding them through it. I would say that US market is definitely still in early stages. Like for instance, I also saw the question, if I can tie it in a little bit, that Indiana and Ohio are most likely to legalize online casino this year. So as we go, there are more and more states that are going to be opening up, and not just sports betting, but also online casinos. And again, right now it's 20. We have 30 more to go. It's a lot of many different countries inside the US, if we could call the states that. So there's definitely room for growth. Like, again, it's important to make that first step and secure the first customer, but from there, it's definitely possible.
Yeah, Julia, I would say that the market is so hot, so it might even be worthwhile for us to make a 4th US webinar from Internet Vikings.
Well, thank you very much to our 3 experts. I guess we'll let them go. Guys, your questions are safely stored on our platform, so they haven't gone unnoticed. What we're going to do, we're going to take the questions out and we're going to post the answers to them on our LinkedIn company LinkedIn page. So just go to Internet Vikings and we will post slowly the answers to all of the questions together with the questions. And also, I'm leaving here the links for you to book a personalized consultation, which is free of charge, with Elena, who can answer all the compliance and regulations questions, or Rickard, if you need the tech expertise in the United States. Please follow the links and book your free consultation. Save the links, because the moment I'm going to switch off the webinar, they will disappear. So keep them handy. And the last, thank you very much to whoever stayed until the very end of our webinar. Here is the webinar. Here is the link for the brochure to download about the United States. We've put a lot of time and effort in creating one booklet where you can find everything you need in regards to the United States iGaming market, be it regulations, be it market overview. We've spent a lot of time researching state by state so that you have all the answers. It is perfectly divided into the area of iGaming expertise. So whether you are a B2B supplier, whether you are an affiliate or an operator, you're going to find most of your answers. Please, I'm going to repeat myself, do not leave too long to download the brochure, because the link will be valid for 48 hours only. You are able to download your brochure and keep it safely. So thank you very much to everybody who joined our webinar today. You guys absolutely rocked. It was such a lively webinar, great questions, great atmosphere. And thank you very much. Stay tuned for the next webinar. We're going to get the ball rolling, and we're going to think of something interesting for you for the next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.